This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy, and today we're going to review the 2022 behavior of the assessor for the town of Vestal, Mark Minoia. So I like to go through a season and deal with the cases and then at the end review the cases and then send a link to the town board, town supervisor, town attorney, so that they can have a view of how the assessor is treating the taxpayers. They may not know because they don't participate in the hearings and they're not on the phone in the conversation with the taxpayers. So they probably don't know. And actually, one thing I've learned about town boards, town supervisors, is they have very limited experience with assessors. Usually, their only experience is with one or two assessors, so they don't really know how an assessor is supposed to behave. Whereas I've dealt with these matters in about 20 counties now, and I've seen how dozens of assessors behave. Good, bad, indifferent, incompetent, lazy, crooked, and good assessors, and everything in between. And so just when you think you've seen it all, you ain't seen nothing. But the thing is that I've seen how dozens of assessors behave, and the town board and town supervisor likely have only seen a couple. So I think that my input should be valuable to them. Sometimes they get defensive and so they clam right up. But if they were smart, they would just listen and decide for themselves what is true and what is not true. So I'm going to talk about how Mark Minoia handled my cases or didn't handle my cases, and his contact information is right here. Mark Minoia, the office number is right there, 607-754-3314. And then there's Colleen Zuby is the deputy assessor. I have no issues whatsoever with Ms. Zuby. She seems to be quite responsive. I think she does her job. My problem is with the assessor himself. He's a pretty experienced guy. He's got experience as an appraiser and so on and so forth. He's been doing this for years. So I think technically there's no issues with his capabilities. It's his customer service that's the problem. And he's a real, his big thing is that he thinks that he's doing his job if he can maintain 100% equalization. And he in his submissions that he provides to the court, he provides a little picture of the certificate that the state gave him because he made 100% equalization, and that's what makes him feel as though that he's doing his job, or what he pushes to the town to make them feel as though he's doing his job. But I'm going to suggest that he's not doing his job, and I'll give you some examples as to why. Actually, Mark Minoia had told one of my clients that I was a fraud, which I found, if you ever notice when people say something derogatory about someone and it's true, the people get ticked off. But if it's not true, all you do is laugh. Well, all I can do is laugh at Mark Minoia. He says that I'm a fraud. Well, to me, a fraud is someone who gets paid to do a job and doesn't do it. And in these two cases that I had this year, the assessor refused to review the property, the assessment of the property, with us. Just absolutely refused. And we had issues, and we had the SCAR hearing, and basically the topic of the hearing was the condition of the property. And the assessor, it's pretty apparent, hasn't been to the property. He had somebody, I don't know if it was himself, had actually pulled into the driveway. Basically, they were trespassing and took that picture. And they got some drone footage. But, he's never, I visited the property and I walked it extensively and looked everything over. And he didn't do that. And he, again, he refused to review the condition of the property, with us, because had he done that, we could probably come to an agreement and just, be done with it and, make an adjustment, for that. He had classified the property as in normal condition, and the one property, the roof was 36 years old, and it's a 30-year roof. The kitchen, or I'm sorry, the bathrooms and the windows and the pool, they're all 30. Well, the pool is 31 years old, and the rest of them are 36 years old. So the property didn't meet the definition per the New York State Assessor's Manual. And and had he done that, had he reviewed it with us, we could have come to an agreement amongst ourselves. He also used 5 comparable sales for his argument, and 4 of which weren't even in the same property class. He only had 1 property that was in the actual class that this property was in. Why didn't he use properties in this class? Probably because the comps didn't meet his agenda. So, so we have the hearing, and the assessor doesn't even show up to the hearing. He's being paid to do a mass assessment, but he's also paid to interact with the taxpayers and to and to address their concerns. He failed to do that, and then he failed to show up at the SCAR hearing, at the state hearing in the Broome County Courthouse, and he had the attorney show up. And what does the attorney know about the condition? He knows nothing about it. And so the attorney just read some boilerplate about the burden of proof and all this kind of stuff. And he really wasn't helpful in coming to the determination. But again, it really, so in the courtroom, there were 3 court police. There was 2 cases, so there's 2 hearing officers. You've got this gigantic building with like 20-foot ceilings. They have to heat that building. All for what? There's 3 police officers in the hearing, and there's another 3 downstairs, and I think there's 2 hearings going on in the entire building. It's just a monumental waste of money, and it's all on the assessor because he refused to do his job. So his job is to interact with the client. He didn't do it, and he's paid to do it. And he's paid to participate in these hearings. He didn't do it. So who's the fraud here? He just cost the taxpayers a bunch of money for absolutely no reason because he's just a stubborn and arrogant guy. And and he says he's always right and he's never wrong. And so I showed the court a property that he had categorized as a diner, and there's like 50 tractor trailers, and I don't think the tractor trailers were there to have lunch. It's some sort of repair facility or some sort of trucking company, and yes, there is a diner there, but he's always right and he's never wrong, and it's just a statistical anomaly that he could be always right and never wrong. When you apply mass assessment techniques to hundreds, thousands of properties, and you're never wrong, it's ridiculous. It's impossible. And he just refuses to do his job properly. So that's Mark Minoia. I gathered from the body language of the town attorney that he doesn't like me too much. But like I said, when people are criticized and it's true, they get upset. And well, that's where the town attorney was at. So the behavior of the town assessor, Mark Minoia, is the responsibility of the town attorney and the town supervisor and the town board. And there's just something going on in the town of Vestal. And so Mark Minoia, I'm not suggesting that they should fire him. I'm suggesting that they need to tell him to do his job and respond to taxpayers properly. The best assessor I've seen, she's not doesn't proclaim to be the greatest valuation expert in the world, but if you call her, she'll return your phone call, and she'll look into it in good faith, and she'll either make an adjustment or she'll politely point you to your appeal options. And I've seen her actually help people fill out paperwork to appeal her, and that's the way it's supposed to be done. But the Vestal assessor, he just denies. And while I'm at it, the Board of Assessment Review for the town of Vestal is an absolute joke. They had 154 cases this year, and they provided reductions for 4 of them to a total of $148,000. I think one of them was like $5,600, one was $15,000, one was like maybe $35,000, and then there's one for $103,000. So it added up to $148,000. But anyway, 4 out of 154. Some of the properties were $5 million, $10 million. There's one for $25 million, and he's exactly right down to the penny every single time. They just denied. It's just an outrageous abuse of the property owners. This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy.